Happy Monday, everybody, and welcome into the Gramlich and McLean podcast presented by Ingles, the official supermarket of Gramlich and McLean. We have an ACC title game, Mac. It is set as Louisville wins. It's going to be Louisville versus Florida State. It's going to be a top 10 matchup. And it's Happy Thanksgiving week, by the way, everybody. Happy Rivalry Week.
Hopefully it'll be a tough.
Oh, shoot. You're right. We still have a whole other set of rivalry games. As I say, Happy Rivalry Week. Great point, Mac. But, I feel like we should start. I don't want to start on a sad note, but I think we should start with just saying thoughts, prayers, everything to Jordan Travis. We hate it for him. He is truly such a good guy. I feel like when someone gets hurt or something happens, we say, oh, he's such a great guy, but we don't really. Yeah. Jordan Travis is just one of the best. And I was so upset to see him get hurt, Matt.
I was too. It was super just the way it happens and the guy that it happened to. Obviously, you get upset for any injuries, but just a young man that obviously we've spoken to a lot and had a great relationship and know his journey pretty well. What he's gone through, the adversity, changing positions at one point or wanting to change positions, going into his coach's office and, he just kind of leaving it all out there. And Coach Norvell said, nope, you're going to stay at quarterback. You're going to turn into one of the best to ever do it. And, that's what he did. And it's unfortunate that this is how the career is going to end. This is how his, playing time at Florida State is going to come to a screeching halt because that's brutal and it's not fair and life's not fair. And there's a lot of things that, we all go through that we could sit here and say that. But just really encourage JT to, continue what you're doing. And I think what's shining super bright right now, KG, is his faith and, understanding his trust in the Lord and, having a peace about it. A lot of guys would be torn up. A lot of guys, would just be down in a deep, dark spot right now. And, I feel like he is handling this better than you could imagine. Just seeing the things that he's posted, the attitude that he's had. But it is brutal. And it sucks. And it's a violent game that we play. And we all know that, when you're a part of this thing, I mean, it's a tough sport. And, you just feel terrible for him and Florida State, but they've got to rally. And they did. I mean, they were down 13 at that point, and it was a horrible feeling, horrible spot. And they really rallied, scored 58 unanswered, found a way, defense, offense, every special teams, everybody's kind of doing their thing. And that's what I hope we see moving forward. Is for them to play for that guy and everything that he means to them, to that university. I mean, I'm thinking back to the interviews we've had with him, and he just saying, how special Florida State is to him, what it means to him as a university and that place. His brother went there. He grew up going there. He's a lifelong Knoll. And, those guys need to play for him. They need to channel that because this is not a one-person team. This is a very good team that other people need to rise up. Keon Coleman, you got to take it to another level. Johnny Wilson, you got to take it to another level. Trey Benson, that defense, the offensive line, everybody has to take their play from here to here and go still accomplish your goals. I mean, there's still games to be played, potentially 3 left. Go out and do it.
The big Florida game, of course, ACC championship, and then we'll see. This is still a team that can make the playoff. If they win out, an undefeated ACC champion, I don't know how they leave them out, especially if they look good with Tate Rodemaker.
Some people are going to try. Those folks on game day, they're already trying. But I totally agree with you. I think that this is just, you're going to find out a lot about Florida State as a culture, as a program, as a team, as a staff. You're going to find a lot. I mean, listen, I think he was already, this staff already coaching their tails off. Them included. Everybody literally has to elevate their game now because you're losing such an alpha. You're losing such an impactful eraser, magician, creator, whatever, all the adjectives you can think about, leader, he does for that team. Everybody's got to come together and figure it out and fill that void that is Jordan Travis that's now gone for this team.
I was truly, Mac, I don't know if I had been that upset for someone that I didn't really know, even though we've talked to him multiple times. So we've obviously know him, but man, it hit me. I was just so sad for him because he's such a great student athlete and representative for Florida State. So Again, hope he's healing up. Hope he's, on the road to recovery. And Florida State did win. Of course, they beat
Yeah.
North Alabama. But let's get to a message from Ingles, Mac, because it is Thanksgiving. Let's get on to some happier topics. There's a lot to be thankful for. And so let's make sure you use Ingles to get ready for your Thanksgiving this year. So a quick message from Ingles and then some more games.
This is so beautiful. I don't know how you do it. We just got this pipe from Ingles.
Well,
Fire! Fire! It's on fire! Fire! All right, move it or lose it, people. Get the cranberry sauce.
We manage.
Happy Thanksgiving from Ingles.
Mac Ingles is getting us ready for Thanksgiving. And I do need to know, before we get into more of these games, because this is obviously Thanksgiving week, it's a big deal. Actually, no, I'm going to start. I'm going to set the tone here.
Ladies first.
Okay, because I'm so excited. Because last year I spent Thanksgiving in Florida with Nick's family.
Mm-hmm.
This year I'm spending Thanksgiving in Texas with my family. And so I get to have my grandma's stuffing. I am so freaking excited. It's the very best. I mean, she's been making it my entire life. I think she said she cut, by the way, she listens to the pod. So shout out, Grandma.
Come on.
I love you.
Let's go, Grandma.
I think she said she cut the recipe out of the newspaper in like 1964 and still makes it to this day.
Well,
That's what I love
if you've
about
been making
grandmas.
it that long, it's your recipe. So you don't have to tell
You
me.
think so?
It's yours. You own that, Grandma. It's your
But Mac,
recipe.
I am going to be bummed because I'm going to be in Texas, so I can't go to Ingles.
Hey, you know what? That's
It's
okay.
depressing. So you're going to have to
People
go
can go
for me.
get their stuff from Ingles and get, the stuff to make Grandma's dressing here. Or
That's
stuffing,
right.
excuse me. Not dressing, stuffing.
I say
Big
stuffing.
difference.
You say
No,
dressing.
there's a difference. There's a difference. I didn't mean to say that.
Okay.
Everyone listening is probably upset at me. Or they like it. I don't know. Fill us in if you're a dressing or a stuffing type of person on the comment section here. But yeah, I'm very excited, KG, because this is the you mentioned you guys go to Florida. Now you're going to Texas. We either go to Duncan, South Carolina, in the Spartanburg upstate area,
Yeah.
or Sumter, South Carolina,
Whew,
down in
lots
the
of travel
Midlands.
for you, Mac.
Lots of travel. We're it's super far. We got to jump in the car and go 40 minutes one way or the other. So it's very tough. But yeah, of course, going to Ingles, getting all this stuff, and listen to this, y'all. My dad is retiring. For those that do not know, coming up, that he just had his last Veterans Day. He's coming up. The end is near, and so with that, a bunch of his soldiers are going to come over. We've got a lot of family. Uncle Doug and the crew live right there now, so some of their families coming in. Cousin Rhino Mac, everybody's going to be here. We're going to have like 30 or so people.
Oh, dang.
So I've already ordered. You can go to Ingles right now. Go to Ingles.com, whatever you need to do. Pre-order or order your turkey. Freeze it, pick it up that day. They make it very easy for you. And so you got that. We got 3 birds. And what we're going to do is 2 of them. I know, it's amazing. It's very fun. 2 of them.
Birds?
Yes, it's a lot, but it's worth it. 2 of them are going on the Traeger. We're going to do a thing called spatchcock. If you remember what that is, KG, you basically split the turkey open and you lay it out flat. So it cooks very well.
Oh.
Does not take as long. Very juicy. All these different things. It's amazing. Just get ready for the videos because they're coming.
Okay.
And then the third one, we will be frying, which I just love. It's so good. So we've got the options with the turkey, whatever you want there, and then just all the fixings. I mean, this is the time where Khaki Mac really gets to shine because she just goes nuts with the dishes. Yeah. Mac and cheese. She's going to make some sourdough rolls, I believe, this year instead of yeast rolls. She's going to do sourdough. She's doing this. God, what is it called? It's it's kind of a salad type thing. I'm losing the word. CT. You guys are watching it right now in real person or in live. Brussels sprout. It's like a Brussels sprout, this salad type thing that she's making. I cannot wait for that. Mimi's green bean casserole, which is just amazing.
Yes.
God, what else? There's so many. All the pies you can think of in the world.
Oh, yeah.
Sweet potato crunch. We're going to have that. I'm sure I'm listing or forgetting many things, but here's the good news for all of you guys. You can go to Ingles right now and do all of that. You can get all of that stuff. I will be posting galore. KG will as well, and she's going to let us inside trade information on Grandma's stuffing. I cannot wait to see that.
Yes, I will be posting Grandma's stuffing because I'm so pumped. Mac, I love that you're having 3 birds.
Yes.
That's unbelievable. Will Amelia get some of the bird?
We'll see.
It's
Here's
up to
the deal.
Khaki.
It is up to the boss. Yeah, but up to Khaki, 100%. We are like super strict, crazy parents, probably compared to a lot. But it's all good. Works for us. And we'll see. There might be too much salt in there. But whatever mom says, if mom says yes, it's for a free game, whatever she wants to do.
I mean,
and
it's an
hopefully that'll help
American
her
tradition.
sleep, right? It is an American tradition.
Eating too much salt on Thanksgiving, she has to learn. She's an
Gotta
American.
learn to go back and forth. That's right. Figure it out. Oh, I also forgot. We're doing like a, I don't know if you call it like a corn pudding. It's more like a cream corn casserole. I don't want you to get pudding vibes.
Ooh.
It's so good. It's so good. Just wait, y'all. Khaki Mac literally throws down in the paint on this day. And it's going to be so fun. It's going to be so fun. I can't wait.
Khaki can do it all. She really
That's
can.
right.
I think
Very
for my
versatile.
Thanksgiving, Mac, last year was Amelia's first Thanksgiving. This year, I'm not sure anyone will remember the food because all my family wants is to see baby
Just
Jake.
be with Jacob. That's good. That's good.
And he's about
Star of
the
the
size of
show.
a turkey. He's
That's
got
right.
some weight to him.
So, okay, well, I'm going to reverse the question. Is he going to eat some turkey?
No.
Oh,
He's not really eating solids. He's eating purees.
Hey, when?
So
okay.
I think
puree
Mac,
up the turkey.
I think we might do some mashed potatoes or something like that.
That's
See if
great.
he likes it.
That's great.
Yeah.
Little cranberry maybe.
Oh.
It's a lot of sugar. It's a lot of sugar. Don't do that.
See, Mac's like, no.
I'm cringing. Please don't. I'm sorry I said that.
Okay, let's get into these football games, Eric McElwain. Let's talk about the game that happened in Miami. I have to say, I went 6-0 this week, and I have
man.
no clue how.
On
no
fire.
Clue.
In
I had given up
fuego,
on myself.
KG.
I had given up on this season, and it just takes 1 6-0 week, and you're back in the game.
You're right.
You're like, oh, I know what I'm doing. When you thought you were dead, so 6-0, and now I'm one game behind Mac. Mac went 2-4 this week. That's okay. But still, overall, 42-35 for me, 43-34 for Mac. Solid records against
No,
Vegas,
it's
Mac.
not good.
But I went with Louisville, and Louisville beats Miami 38-31. Probably Jack Plummer's best game at Louisville. He was great. Tyler Van Dyke was also really good. He didn't turn the ball over and didn't throw picks. That was big. That's why this game was really close and back and forth. But I did think we were going to get a little bit of a go ACC moment, but I was really impressed with Louisville, their culture, and just how they pulled it out.
Yeah, no, I was too. And it was, I don't know why I felt so bad about the game, but I really did. I mean, I had not a lot of confidence at all for some unknown reason. Because again, on paper, and it's weird how there's sometimes, as you see in these picks, I am very logical with why I do things and the things I pick. This one, I wasn't logical, and I just thought Miami's going to do something, and I lost. So I should have just stayed to my brain, done what I needed to do, but I didn't, and I'm very disappointed in that. But Miami was playing really well, and they were up for the task. Big plays, picks. When Louisville threw the pick, and then they scored a touchdown, I was like, oh man, here we go. This is it. This is not going to be good.
Because you didn't want to be right, Mac.
I absolutely didn't want to be right. No, I was devastated. And, it was a great game, though. Very physical, high-flying offenses, great execution by both offenses for a majority of the game. I thought Tyler Van Dyke played out of his mind. And, it was good to see that to me because this is a guy that has all the talent in the world. And it's hard to say because that clock is ticking, but still potentially can be a first-round draft pick. I thought that was going to be a surefire thing when he was a freshman. Quarterbacks are such a commodity. You just never know if they, have a great year, go somewhere else, have a great year, whatever Tyler, decides to do. It's going to be interesting because he has all the tools. It's just putting it together for whatever reason. We haven't just seen that consistently for a full season as a starter. So I thought that was great to see from him. This core that you see from Miami of these players making plays. Mark Fletcher is just a freak.
Yeah.
Big time freshman, 6'2", 6'3", running the ball 17 times for 130 yards, 2 touchdowns. Just really impressive guy, the things that he can do. This receiving core is, again, so fun to watch. Xavier Restrepo, an absolute weapon and security blanket. It's hard to be both of those, but he is. Offensive line was great. Francis Maui-Noah getting out in space, bulldozing a guy. I mean, that's going to be a top 5 pick one day if he stays healthy and keeps progressing the way I think he can. And then Cameron Kitchens, I mean, we saw him again, baiting a guy and Jack Plummer where he's on the opposite hash, KG. Louisville runs a relative trick play. Like, it's a home run play. Like, this guy's going to be open. and Cam stays over there and sees it and just baits him, lets him throw it, and just comes swooping in.
Mm-hmm.
So you saw all that from Miami. And honestly, if I just looked at the box score and saw this side, I'd be like, Miami probably won the game. But Louisville played out of their mind too. They played really well. The play designs, I thought that was the best called play Louisville's had in regards to Power 5, big boy football type things. They were dialing up some stuff where you were just like, man, that was impressive. That was fun. Formation-wise, motion-wise, passing concepts. It was really high-level football, and I thought they did a great job. So this was a fun game. This is one of the best games of the weekend in total, not just in the ACC. So it was really fun for kind of us and to watch that and to be able to talk about it.
Yeah, I agree. I thought the game really delivered. And Mac, my big takeaway too was that Louisville didn't give up a sack to this Miami D line that has a lot of really talented players, and just Louisville doing it, like finding a way to not ACC the moment, if you will, Mac.
Yeah.
But the problem too, and I hate to be this person, but you also just think, what if they hadn't lost to Pitt?
Oh man, no question.
We'd be in a different conversation right now.
It's brutal.
But
it's brutal.
They did. We're here. And they're still having an absolutely exceptional year. And Mac, what's weird too is you think about Miami and their season, they're bowl eligible.
Yeah.
And they have Boston College this week, right? So could get to that 7th win, maybe an 8th at a bowl game. I think they are moving in the right direction. Is that fair to say with Miami?
Yeah. And real quick before I move on from Louisville, I think the other kind of piece that's I don't know if exciting is the right word. It is exciting. Jamari Thrash is hurt. Like his hand is hurt. He cannot catch the football. He was targeted a bunch, only had 1 catch, and still, like they had their most prolific passing day. So if he can heal up, if he can get right, look out. I mean, who knows how this offense can take another step. But yeah, to go to Miami, the biggest deal now is just going to be consistency and being able to do it game in and game out when there is expectation. When there is, hey, you got to beat this team, you have to do this, and they don't. When you're in these big matchups against FSU, against Louisville, back-to-back weeks, top 10 opponents, and they're right there, but just couldn't, get it done. So I think that the key is obviously you have the players, you have the guys. I mean, you're in all of these games. You beat Clemson, all these different things that you're able to do. You're right there for North Carolina too, and maybe got out of hand a little bit at the end. But you're not as far away as maybe you once were. So I think it's just a consistency thing. And how can they, take that next step will be interesting to see. Is it going to get a couple different players? Is it just dialing in and growing with what you have? Because there's a lot of youth. I've mentioned that a bunch. A lot of young superstars on this team that are very good and very fun to watch. So I do think that there's a lot of promise for Miami.
I think quarterback's the big question.
Sure.
What do you do there? Because there were so many turnovers at that position. And of course, you have Williams, but is he healthy? Can he come back? All these things. But we'll see with Miami. Season's not over yet. We'll do our season retrospectives later on. Let's talk about Clemson UNC. Clemson beats number 20 North Carolina 31-20. And we said it last week. Where has this Clemson team been?
Yeah.
I think they're finding themselves. They're peaking. And, it's weird to say they're peaking at the right time because they've hurt themselves so much with previous losses.
Yeah.
But they are peaking, and they're obviously getting better. And they're obviously playing like one of the hottest teams in the country. I mean, they're a team you don't want to play right now.
Yeah.
Will Shipley, we were talking about this off air. Let's get into this, Matt. Clemson has discovered, and weirdly, I feel like it took the injury to Shipley to discover it, which is why probably some fans are frustrated. But it seems Clemson has discovered the perfect way to use Moffa and Shipley together. And they were great in this game. You had Shipley with 18 carries for 126. He also had 2 catches for 53 yards. Phil Moffa, 23 carries for 84 yards. They both had a touchdown. I mean, that's a dream right there, Matt.
Yeah.
Why did it take so long to figure it out? Maybe we don't need to harp on that, but
sure.
I love this combination. Could we see it next year? That's the question.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing with Ship because I feel like I really do feel like he's one of the most undervalued, underappreciated players that Clemson's ever had. And he's elite. Like they just rattled off that list 10 guys with 4,000 total yards, and he's one of them. I mean, and it just, I don't know.
In Clemson history.
In Clemson history. And when, the injury happened and Moffa has that great success and, there was just a lot of chatter on social media, and I'm getting texts from people saying this should have been, the guy the whole time, like get Ship out of all these things. I'm just like, what? Like, what are you talking about? Like, this guy is elite. And there is frustration, I'm sure, with a lot of different people. And I'm going to throw my name in this because this is what I thought the offense could look like from a personnel standpoint, from an execution
I think it's more
standpoint.
Frustration that they were using him the wrong way, perhaps.
Right. And it's honestly a little bit comparatively, you can throw this in there. It gives me, it's totally different, but it's similar in a weird way. 2014 vibes where Cole Stout was the starter. Then you want, Deshaun kind of takes over. Deshaun gets hurt. Cole Stout the starter, whatever. But Clemson, with Chad Morris, offensive coordinator, was trying to do things that were for Deshaun with Cole. And it just wasn't working. It wasn't fair to ask that from him. And then, guys move on, goes to be the head coach. Cole Stout was the MVP of every game that there was an MVP trophy that year in Clemson. I mean, that's crazy to look at because he did what, he could do. And the offensive coordinators at the time asked him, what do you want to do? What are you good at? What are the things that you can do? And we housed Oklahoma 40-6. Should have been 40-0. Probably could have been a lot worse. They scored kind of like with 2 minutes left there. And that's kind of like how it is to me that, not saying he can't, but why are we running a 200-pound running back in the A gap on short yardage when you have a 236-3 running back in the back? It just doesn't make any sense to me.
That play specifically against UNC was like, what's going on?
I mean, and that's been all year. But then I see
that was a microcosm of it all.
Yeah. But I see now in this game where, he's flexed out running deep past 36-yard completion. I'm seeing where he's getting runs out on the edge and, breaking tackles. And that was the shiftiest I've ever seen Will Shipley. I mean, there was 2 or 3 plays where he's one-on-one in the hole making guys miss. I don't think I've really ever seen that consistently from him. Like he was in this game. This was by far, I think, his best game. And it is unfortunate, just because I thought this is what we would see all year long, from this offense and versatility wise, whatever. But, at the end of the day, Garrett Riley's growing too, and he's learning too. And he's a first-year coordinator in this system, figuring out his guys, who he has, what's at his disposal. And, that's part of it. We think just players grow. Coaches grow as well. And they figure things out. And the good thing is you're seeing that. The good thing is, it's happening. It's not just the same thing, week in and week out. So to answer the last part of it, and we can kind of go wherever you want here, KG, but I don't know if we will see it again, and I go back and forth, and EJ and Eddie and I have had a lot of discussions about this. It might be in his best interest to go pro now. I just don't know.
Sure. What else
I think he's at the ceiling.
prove?
As a prospect, I don't know what else he can show. And you kind of think about the running back position is not a hot commodity. You need to be fresh and you need to be healthy. And playing another season does not help that. So it'll be interesting. Now, do I think he can solidify being one of the best ever? Absolutely. Do I hope he comes back? 1,000%. I love seeing that guy, wear my uniform and wear the paw that I wore, on the side of his helmet there. But when you talk about business wise and what's best for him, it'll be interesting to see the decision that he makes at the end of the year.
It's a really good point. Yeah.
And the fact that he ran down the hill by himself. I mean, that was kind of telling to me, to be honest.
Yeah. For senior day. Yeah. The only argument is that people said the same thing about Travis Etienne.
Sure.
They said he should go pro, that he had proved everything. He comes back and has a crazy year and becomes a first-round pick. Now, Etienne needed to prove that he could catch the ball.
Yeah.
Shipley has already proved that for the most part. But could they do it even more? We will see. And before we get to the UNC side of this, Mac, I feel like I'm trying to remember when I said this. I said it to my husband. I want to say it was may have even been the Duke game. Maybe it was like the Florida State game, probably, where I said, and it's kind of sad to think this in September, but I said, Clemson's going to be really good next year.
Right.
It was a year early for a lot of these guys. You look at all the young guys on the defense, first of all. If Shipley comes back, I think it takes it to a whole nother level.
Yeah.
But you're starting to see this team build momentum for next year. Not that this year's over. You can still go on to win 9 games, beat South Carolina, of course, which matters to everybody in the state of South Carolina, and then win your bowl game. But I do think there's something about the momentum that you are building for next year. You mentioned the Oklahoma game, in the bowl game in 2014. I felt like you guys built momentum for 2015 at the end of 2014. So before we get to UNC, Do you think that's kind of what's happening here, Mac?
Yeah, there are, interestingly enough, a lot of similarities between that 14 team and this team. We had the number 1 defense in the year that year. Opening weekend, we got housed by Georgia. Clemson just got housed by Duke this year.
Georgia and Duke, same thing.
Oddly enough, there's oddly enough, there are a lot of similarities between it, and it is fascinating. And I totally agree with you because the amount of youth at particular places. You look at quarterback, you look at receiver, defense. I mean, the stars over there in the secondary, they've just been playing at a great level. I mean, they just held Drake May to 44 completion percentage. I mean, that's nuts. That's crazy. And Nate Wiggins proven that he's one of the best players in the country.
What a play!
He was
what
electric.
A play to punch
now
out
Tez
that
got
ball.
his too, right? Like he had a couple of great passes and completions, but overall, that dude was nuts. He made a lot of money. There were a lot of pro scouts in that game. And I think he might end up being a first-round draft pick too, and Nate Wiggins there. So I agree with you. I think that's a great point, KG, when you look at this team and, just the excitement level for next year and to look at what they're going to be able to do, who they have coming back, what they have coming back. Are there any changes that are made, whether that's transfer portal or, to the staff will be interesting because we've heard that from a lot of different places. A lot of different whispers. But
some rumors, rumblings.
That's right. But very proud of the way this team has finished up to this point. And obviously you've got 2 more opportunities to leave a legacy and to really make a name for yourself. So expect them to do that. You mentioned the defense. I mean, I just want to give them a little bit more praise before we move on. I go back and forth so much between Jeremiah Trotter and Peyton Wilson from NC State.
Ooh.
Just on who's the best. And I think I don't know, it's so hard. It really is because I think Peyton, he has to do more for his defense. But Jeremiah is just so good. They both are so good. They're great players. I mean, I would not be shocked at all if those 2 are All-Americans, maybe even Cedric Gray. If we have 3 All-American linebackers in the ACC, I mean, that would just be bonkers. But I think it's there. And I mean, how impactful those guys are for their teams. It's fun to see. So anyway, that's a lot of Clemson talk, but it is exciting to see how these guys are playing right now.
It is. And of course, South Carolina coming up. For UNC, Mac, the 2 fumbles, it almost felt like UNC was doing what Clemson had been doing all year,
Switch
making
uniforms.
Absolutely unbelievable mistakes, fumbling in the red zone twice, both Amarian Hampton, and of course the crazy touchback where Clemson gets the ball back. Those 2 fumbles were so costly. I'm not sure that UNC wins if those fumbles don't happen, but I think the game goes differently. I really do.
Oh.
And that killed him. And Amarian Hampton ran it so well. He still had 2 touchdowns with 2 fumbles in the red zone.
Yeah.
But Drake May did struggle.
He did. And I think that's a lot of credit to Clemson, obviously having a great plan and trying to give them different looks and difficult looks and just trying to put them in weird spots. Speaking of All-Americans, I think Amarian Hampton is going to be an All-American. I think he's number 1 in the country in rushing yards right now. Going for 178 yards on a Clemson defense that is very stingy.
Right.
Should have had 3 touchdowns.
1,414 yards.
Yeah. I mean, that's bizarre. And could
for
have
a team
more.
that couldn't even run the ball last year.
Right. Could have more, honestly. He only had 19 carries. I mean, they could have not doubled it, but they could have given him a lot more than that. And when you just see it, it's impressive to see. And I love the skill players again. Tez, JJ, Bryson Nesbitt is so good. I mean, he's such a mismatch problem for a lot of different people. This is a great North Carolina team. It is unfortunate, kind of the finish, the slide again, 2 years in a row here.
Yeah.
I know there's a Duke win in there. I know there's a Campbell win in there, but they've got a tough test this Saturday going to Raleigh. We'll be there. That environment's going to be crazy. 2 teams that are 8-3. Look out. I mean, that's going to be a war, and I can't wait to see it. And as you said, Drake May, like his stats, I don't think are indicative of his performance because he still made some crazy plays, crazy decisions, really nice throws. He's a special player. He's such a special player. And honestly, some of the rumblings that are happening out west with Williams there and the things with him not wanting to do interviews and a lot of people being pissed off about that. I think this dude is locking up the first overall pick. I really do. Ooh. And I've said this for months, but I think that's where we're trending really quickly.
You mentioned the NC State UNC game coming up this weekend where you guys will be. How crazy is it that UNC has the potential first overall pick, in Drake May, and they're 8-3, and NC State has played a bajillion quarterbacks, has had one quarterback quit on them, has benched one quarterback and brought that quarterback back, and is 8-3. And now they play this weekend. I think, and by the way, NC State beats Virginia Tech 35-28. I think this is one of the more impressive and under discussed seasons of this whole year, what NC State's done.
Yeah.
Starting slow, benching Brennan, having MJ Morris, him saying, I'm out, bringing Brennan Armstrong back, and now they're playing their best football. They're 8-3. I love what they did offensively against Virginia Tech. It was creative. It was using your pieces to the best of their ability. Concepcion is a marvel. I'm really impressed. This may be Dave Doran's best work, as people have been saying.
Yeah, I thought that's where you were going from the jump there with them, because when you were talking about, not appreciated, whatever, I totally agree. I mean, this dude is such an amazing coach. It's just what he does. Whatever you got, throw it out there. We'll figure it out. We'll get him going. He is such a great coach. I mean, he really is. The way he sees the game, the way that he runs his program, the people that he has, just the way they do it. I mean, cussing dudes out if they're talking badly about his team. I mean, he's as blue collar as it comes, and I think smoking a cigar, drinking a water bottle, might not be water, don't know. On set there, he's just the man, and it's so fun to be around him, and very excited to see him and Coach Brown, all those guys, this coming weekend in Raleigh. A couple of my favorites, but looking at this team and how they handled that adversity, honestly. Handling it twice, because number one, you bring in a guy, you're really excited about him. He's not really panning out. The team's losing. You bench him. Bring in the young cat that you know is okay. He wins 3 of the 4, and then he decides to sit down. Now you got to go back. I mean, it's 3 seasons in one here.
It really is.
And they're surging, and they're playing at such a high level, and the defense has been just ascending. Coach Tony Gibson is one of the best in the country. I mean, and he might be the best in the country. There's about to be a lot. There already are. There's about to be more head coaching jobs open. Yeah. He's a name to watch out for. If he, wants to do that, number one, I think he would be a great leader of teams. Now, I want him to stay at NC State for a long time because he's one of the best, and I want to continue to cover him. But he's super good, KG, and does so much for this team. The offense, as you said, kind of similar to Clemson, but I think for a little bit of, maybe just different reasons. This is what I thought it would look like all year, but they just didn't know who was going to be the ultimate chess piece. They have to have that, in this offense, a guy that can truly do everything for you. I don't think they thought it was going to be a true freshman in Casey Concepcion, but he has earned that, and he is clearly handling all those different responsibilities. I'm going to do a tape on Saturday that shows up all the different places that he lines up. Fullback, halfback, quarterback, split out wide, slot, everywhere. I mean, he does everything. Motions, threw a touchdown, rushes, had 9 rushing yards for 9 rushes for 44 yards. He's a weapon, and they try to find the best mismatch and best one-on-one matchup for him, and they do that. And that's how you get so much success. And Brennan running the ball. I don't love running it 21 times with your quarterback, but whatever it takes.
But, Mac, you're at that point of the year where it's like, this is what works.
You are.
We're just trying to win each possession, each play, each game. Like, we just got to do it. Whatever works.
Doesn't matter.
And it works.
It doesn't matter. And then, again, I mentioned the defense. I mean, those guys just playing at such a high level. Peyton Wilson specifically, 11 total tackles, a sack, and 3 tackles for loss. This guy sees the game differently than pretty much anyone on the field. I mean, he can anticipate the way he studies, the way he reads plays, his reaction. It's so fast, and it's so smooth. I mean, he had this one tackle for loss where it basically he was out on the edge on the left-hand side, and it looks like he's blitzing, but he's not. He's literally standing there, takes 2 steps to occupy that tackle so everything else on the inside can happen. And as he's doing that, he sees it's going to be a screen to the running back. It's like it's effortless. It's like he's walking on clouds and blows it up 5 yards in the backfield. I mean, it's the most like peaceful, violent thing that you can watch just because of how quickly he can anticipate things. It's bizarre. It's a thing of beauty, honestly. Him, and I mentioned Jeremiah a little bit ago. So fun to watch those two.
It was. And Virginia Tech, of course, a tough loss. They scored a good bit late to make it look closer, but they have Virginia this weekend. And if they beat Virginia, they're going bowling in a season where a lot of people thought that probably wouldn't happen. So that would be a huge step in the right direction for Virginia Tech. Mac, we could have 12 bowl teams in the ACC. That's a lot of bowl previews.
I have a question.
For Grand Lake and Mac Lane.
Is bowling an ACC sport? Honestly, it is now, baby. It is now.
That feels like an ACC sport.
It does. It does. It absolutely does.
I bet Wake Forest is good at bowling. Sorry, Wake Forest. That was rude. I shouldn't have said that. Okay.
Wake Forest out here catching strays.
I bet they are good at bowling. Boop. All right, let's just run through the rest of these games, Mac. Let's go through the ones that I was right about. Oh, that's all of them. Okay. Virginia
Kelly is feeling herself, y'all. Oh my gosh.
No, I'm just on, my last leg.
Whatever
I'm dressed kind of nice because I just did a game. So,
great.
Okay. Where was I? Oh, Virginia. Virginia beats Duke 30-27. Mac, Calandria, I think he's your guy. He's your guy. I just thought Virginia had been so close. And they weirdly now have won 6 in a row. Or six games at home in a row against Duke. Had it in the bag. No big deal.
Yeah.
I wasn't worried ever.
Six in a row is a little aggressive. But I agree.
6 in a row in Charlottesville.
Right. There you go. Perfect. I love Calandria and always have. He's so exciting. But it was just, there was a lot of bad with the good. And you were just like, man, if we can sort this out. Because, I mean, quite honestly, the reason they lost, a bunch of those games up front just because of the picks and silly decisions and penalties. I remember that one penalty, throws his helmet off and gets that 15-yarder.
He's a young,
but he's growing up. Yeah, he is. He's super young. And really, just after what I saw from Duke against North Carolina, I thought there's no way that these guys lose the game, and they do. And what's interesting is they almost flipped who they are. And I don't love that, but, it is what it is. They threw the ball 45 times. That's the most Duke by like double has thrown the ball all year long. They only ran it 28. It was bizarre. It was Virginia's night, and they were physical. Duke kind of made a run there to get it back close, scored 14 in the fourth. But Virginia finding a way. I mean, you have to be so proud of that team. The way that they have fought near the anniversary of just an absolute tragedy, playing inspired, emotional, all those different things, and getting a dub. And now you're going into rivalry week, welcoming the Hokies to Charlottesville there. And can you spoil their season? Because they want to go bowling for sure.
Right. Yeah. I feel like in some of those rivalry games, the worst thing always happens. Like the team that really needs the game the most loses, but we will see. Excited for that one. Mac, Georgia Tech beat Syracuse 31-22. Syracuse again throws out just an insane game plan of, just craziness, trying to see what sticks. And of course, Dino Babers is fired. We did get that news over the weekend. You and I've always had great interaction with Dino Babers. He's an awesome guy.
Yeah.
It didn't work out. They're 1-6 in league play. I think that's why, even though they still have a chance to go bowling with next week's game, just felt like maybe the time had come to an end. And it was time for Syracuse to move on and look for something else. But Syracuse still hung in this game. Georgia Tech, they run the ball really well against Syracuse. I just felt like Georgia Tech was going to get it done at home, Mac, in a game where Syracuse, I think their desperation plan worked against Pitt because it hadn't been on film yet. But now I think people got you figured out. You have no quarterback, basically.
Yeah, you don't. It's unfortunate just because, Garrett Schrader's hurt. His shoulder's just messed up and, just couldn't throw the ball forward, which just stinks because he's such a great dude and has worked so hard. And, you just hate to see that. Like these guys who have had these, adversity kind of riddled careers and fighting away. And now you think getting to a peak and it just ends kind of in a brutal way there. So, I think looking at it again, just really thought that Syracuse would be able to run the ball and maybe not quite replicate it to the success that they did. But thought it would be better and thought that it would be more of game control, things of that nature. And that wasn't the case. Georgia Tech did a great job throwing the ball effectively, obviously running it, and defense coming up with some big plays. So shout out to the Jackets going bowling. First time since I think like 18, 19. Been a long time. I think there's only one guy who started on Georgia Tech's team that has been bowling with Georgia Tech. That's crazy.
Oh, wow.
And so massive for the teams, massive for Coach Key. Again, huge shout out to him and what they're able to do. So you love to see that, KG. And then, of course, the last one, Thursday night game, BC and Pittsburgh. One of the ugliest games I've ever seen in my life. One of the most confusing games I've ever seen in my life. You have a team in Pitt that gave up 100 billion rushing yards the week before. The number one ACC rushing team comes in and plays, and I'm like, oh, yeah, this is going to be easy. BC's got this. Wrong, dead wrong, couldn't do anything. I'm pulling up the stats right now. They rushed for 150, but not what you thought. Not what you thought and how you thought they'd be able to do it. Just brutal. So what I thought, KG, was the start of the Go ACC weekend. That wasn't quite the case. There were still some moments, but it wasn't quite the case.
Mac, you know what's funny? You forgot a game.
Oh, I did. Whoa. Who did I forget? Oh, Wake Forest. That wasn't really,
Notre Dame beats Wake Forest.
Wake Forest forgot that game too, actually.
We said the game. We mentioned it. Sam Hartman wins the Wake Forest Bowl. Mac, this was a fun week. We have some really exciting content coming this week. It's Thanksgiving week, but we don't take the week off.
Oh.
No way.
Come on.
We know you still have to go to work, at least on some days.
Right.
So we've got you covered. New episode coming Wednesday and Friday. So stay tuned for that.
No question. We also know that you're going to be traveling and you need something to listen to. So Wednesday's episode,
that's right.
It's going to bring it. You're going to need something. Right. You're going to tune in. It's going to be a lot of fun. Cannot wait for that. And then big old rivalry week. We're here, baby. Hate week for some. We'll see. We'll dive into that and have some fun. Cannot wait to see these matchups. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Another great episode of Gramlich and Mac Lane. Huge shout out to our guys over at Ingles and everything they do for us. Cannot do this without them. And we need your help as well. Need you to go over to YouTube, subscribe, leave some comments, jump in the chat there. And then also the OGs over on Apple Podcasts, rate, review, subscribe as well. We would greatly appreciate that. But until next time, we'll see y'all.